Hi, my name is Rose Hughes, and I'm here today to show you a little bit about the method that I use to construct my quilts, which is Fast-Piece Appliqué. This method I came up with that's in this particular quilt is one that lets you do the curves and everything in circles really super fast and easy. So today we're actually going to be pulling out one of the roses from this larger quilt and recreating it in a block form so that you can see how easy the Fast-Piece Appliqué can be used to put it together. Where I get my designs from are usually taken from photographs that I have been shooting, and I simplify the versions. And I also wanted to show you that you can create them in any size that you want. And once you have the design all drawn out on paper, is add numbers for each one of the shapes that you find within the design. And then you're going to take a piece of freezer paper and you're going to lay it on top. To copy this over, drawing all of the lines, tracing them all, and then after you've traced all the lines, what you want to do is trace over the same numbers. And then on the freezer paper only, you want to put in hatch marks, which will then later be used as you're sewing things together to keep everything aligned. Now it's time to pick the fabric. So I always like to create a set of numbers, and when I'm selecting a fabric for a specific number on the little quilt, what I'll do is I'll take the number off the board and stick it onto the fabrics. And now that the fabrics are all selected, we get to cut apart the freezer paper pattern. You're going to do that on the line of the freezer paper pattern. After they are cut out, you're going to take the pattern piece to the selected fabrics. You're going to pull off the little tapes, and you're going to place it so that there's at least a 1/2 inch all the way around the piece, and then you're just going to press it into place. The freezer paper is going to be pressed down, shiny side down, onto the right side of the fabric. With the fabrics all cut out, the next step is how to prepare it for stitching. Please start looking for pairs that are relatively easy to sew together. So 1 and 2 have this combination point, and when I'm preparing them for stitching, what I do is I lift up the paper from one of the pattern pieces, and then I slide carefully using that mark to make sure everything is even, and I want to leave just the width of the sewing machine needle between both of those, and then I'm going to press this into place. You want to set your sewing machine up for a straight stitch using a neutral thread, and you're going to slide your pieces in, and then you're just going to straight stitch right through that little area that we have left for the stitching. After the two pieces are stitched together, trim that. In order to do that, I just start to lift up the paper to expose the upper side of pattern pieces, and then I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to use my duckbill scissors, and I'm going to go in here and get as close as possible to the stitching line and actually just go ahead and trim this away. Now that that's done, I only trim the top, I never trim the back. You're going to actually be putting the 1 and 2 back onto your master pattern. So my next two might be 9 and 11, because I always look for that easiest bit of sewing. So I'm going to take 9 and 11 up to the ironing board and press them together, and then take them and stitch them and just keep on going. It's really fun to take off all the papers, and you get a little bit of unveiling. The reason why you want to leave the papers on till the very end is really twofold. First off, you need to have your little slash marks in order to make sure everything fits together. The other thing is this actually helps keep everything nice and stable until you're ready to do the unveiling, which is really the fun part. So you get to take off all the papers and finally see the final piece, and in this case it's going to be our rose. At this point is where I like to put my quilt sandwich together and come in and use some different yarns and audition them to see what I like best to go with my rose. So my approach to the embellishment process is I stitch over all of my lines from the Fast-Piece Appliqué, and I do this with yarns, and I couch on my yarns. The next thing that I do is I work on these areas here, which are machine quilted, and then after the machine quilting, I get to go in and do all the little stitching that I love to do with embroidery threads. And I actually like to use them also to move the color around in the quilt. And the very last thing that I do is I go and I put on my beads. And in this case, the beads that I used here were these little leaves. Anywhere you see a bead is actually a hand quilting stitch. So they're holding the piece together as well. And so after I'm all done, then I'm ready to bind it and it's ready to go. I really hope you enjoyed learning how to do the Fast-Piece Appliqué method. It really is one of my favorite things, and I'm glad to have a chance to share it with you.